Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman, and welcome to our 221st installment of the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Behar, Bechukosai, again, another double Parsha. As we mentioned many times, we need to finish the Torah in one full year, so there are certain Parshas that are going to be doubled up. So this is a common Parsha that is doubled up. It is the Parsha of Behar and Bechukosai. Parshas Behar speaks about sabbatical year, Shemitah, the Yovel, Jubilee year, redemption of the land. It talks about Levite cities, preventing poverty, a Jewish slave, etc. And Bechukosai speaks about the curses, right? It's all about the miracles, the blessing, and the curse goes this whole thing about curses. So the Torah tells me, chapter 25, verse 36, right? Torah tells me, do not take from him interest, i.e. a Jew. You're not allowed to take him interest, and increase yourself, fear your God, let your brother live with you, right? So there's a mitzvah in the Torah. If your brother means by a Jew, your brother needs a loan, right? He needs money. He needs a loan. You are not allowed to lend him with interest. Right? Both people transgress. Person who writes up the agreement transgresses. The witnesses transgress. It's a very severe prohibition, right? That a person lends their brother with interest, because the obligation is to lend money to your brother without interest. So says Mori Rebbe, Arav Agon, Rav Moshe Stormach Shlita, should be well. And he brings down in Tam Vidas, in his commentary on Chumash, and he says that the person has this mitzvah, right? The mitzvah comes along that you have the ability to save someone. You have the ability to lend money, right? Literally, you're saving their life, because no one would come to borrow money if they didn't need money, right? You're saving their life. So, well, what does the Torah tell me? The Torah tells me my obligation to do this is that I should fear God. Now let's understand, before we delve a little bit further, let's understand what this mitzvah is. Right? A Jew comes to another Jew and he says, listen, you have money to lend. All right? If you have money to lend, you should lend it. If you are, he's not going to pay back, and he never pays back, okay. So you wouldn't have to lend it, right? Because you're worried you're going to lose over here. Right? But you do your best. You have a document. You have two witnesses, right? If the person can't pay, then the witnesses agree. The witnesses agree, certainly, that they are going to pay. So the whole idea over here, right, is a real novelty. Because if I lend somebody, or a Jew lends somebody $100, you are not using this money. So you would say, okay, I'm not using the money, so I want to make money over here. If I'm lending my money out, you should have to pay me interest. Right? It's only how banks work. And this is the way of the world. You borrow money, you have to pay more money back. Right? It works with credit cards. God forbid anyone gets involved with credit cards. Credit card debt can destroy a person, right? No question. So a person's got to be careful, right? You got to be careful. Now the novelty here is, this is the way of the world, that people lend money with interest. Comes on the Torah. Torah says not allowed to, right? You're not allowed to do it with Jews. Jews, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to lend with interest, right? That's forbidden. That 100% you're not allowed to do. So for a non-Jew, I'm allowed to, right? The Torah only tells me by a Jew I'm not allowed to lend with interest. So says Mori Rebbe over here, what are you doing? You're saving the person's life, right? Again, the person's not coming to you for a loan if he doesn't need the money, right? He certainly needs the money. So, a person has to realize, as my Rebbe here points out, you have to have awareness, You have to have tremendous fear of heaven. Then you get punished. You get punished. What am I going to get punished for? What's a person going to get punished for if he had the ability to save one and save somebody and he didn't? Now again, if he's worried he's not going to get paid back. He doesn't have all the money in the world, but he needs his money. He wants his money paid back. So he's worried he's not going to get it back. So then he would be allowed to lend. He would be, allowed not to lend him. Right? Same thing, a person wants to borrow, I don't know, his hedge clippers, his lawnmower. But you know the person, in general, they damage things. Right? They're not responsible. So I don't have an obligation over here to lend it out. If I lend it out and I know that this person can subsequently ruin it, and I go in with that idea, okay. But who says I have to do that? Who says I have an obligation over here, to put myself at risk where he could ruin it? Now here is interesting. Here we're talking about a normal case. Right? The normal case is he has the money to lend. He absolutely has the money to lend, but doesn't want to lend it. He's stingy. Nothing's not worried he's going to get it back. He's stingy. So he says you can't imagine the depth of what the punishment is if someone could have helped you. So here you don't have an excuse. A person, trustworthy person. He'll bring you witnesses to sign. But why don't you want to help him out? Because you are stingy. You're stingy. So remember here points out the punishment someone was able to help and didn't. And wouldn't. Tremendous sin. That's why at the end of the verse it says you have to fear God. Because if a person has proper fear of God, which we've spoken about a number of times, then he's going to rouse in himself the idea that he should save his brother. That means the person got the message. That he got the message of the Torah. And that the Torah says I have to help my brother. And I have to help him to the extent if I have money, I have to lend it to him. And I can't lend it to him with interest. Forbidden to lend with interest. So even though I'm just getting the money back, whenever he's going to pay it back, whatever the agreement is, he saved his life. Right? He's definitely helped him in a major way. If he's helped him in a major way, you can imagine the merit, the reward he's going to get. But if he's got the ability to help and he doesn't have a good excuse, my language, he's toast over here. That's one explanation. Rebbe explains further. Right, what are we talking about over here? We're talking about the mitzvah of lending money to a Jew without interest. Now, we can understand, at least according to logic, why this is forbidden. Now, we said before, the way the world is, the person lends money should get interest back. Right? But here it makes sense. Why should a person have to pay interest? He needs to be helped. So what? You could have made a little bit of money on it. You're there to help the other person. If you're there to help the other person, you're not allowed to charge them interest. Right? By a Jew. So you see over here, Rebbe here points out that's good character traits. Right? It's certainly an act of loving kindness to lend without interest. Because otherwise, it's like you're taking a bite out of him. Even if both agree the one who lends the money, the one who gets the money. Even if he says, fine, you give me 100, I'll pay you back 120. Because it's worth it for me. Right? I'll get the money. Totally worth it. Because I need the money now. Right? And there are people willing to take money because they have no choice. And they'll pay more back. And the reason is because they need the money now. So, even if both agree, it's still forbidden. Right? It doesn't matter. It's still forbidden over here. But what would a person think? Why would a person think it's permissible over here? The reason is very simple. Because it benefits both. The lender, right, the one who's giving over the money, how's he benefiting? He's getting more money back. The one he's lending it to is also benefiting. Why? Because he's getting the money. So maybe you'll say it's okay because both agree. There's a benefit over here to both. Comes along the Torah and says, at the end of this verse, you got to fear God. Because if you have proper fear of God, from the punishment for a sin that we do, person will be that much more careful not to transgress this stringent prohibition. And even if we don't fully understand, it doesn't matter. We still have to have this fear of God. Well, see, we're not going to talk about fear of God here. Right? I could easily spend the rest of this video speaking about that. But I want to backtrack a drop. How would a person say this is permissible? Why would they think this is permissible, regardless of whether we understand it or not? Right? Very simple. Both benefit. The one who gets the money benefits. The one who lends the money also benefits because he's getting more. So there'd be a strong side to say it's okay. But the Torah says, even though it's a benefit for both, we can't imagine how severe this is. So in general, we have to have fear so we don't transgress the Torah. But there's another aspect. It's not just a deterrent over here. Right? The point is that we don't know how far and how deep it goes. Meaning, the Torah tells us things, doesn't give us any details. It says do this, don't do that. Some things are understandable more, some things less. Probably most things are not understandable in general. But the point is, we can't fathom the depth of judgment. So, what would we say? If we can't fathom the depth of judgment, who in the world is willing to take the chance? Why would we be willing to take the chance over here? Doesn't make too much sense. Because we don't know how far it goes. Maybe it only goes to one level. And then, okay, a person will pay the price and that's it. But maybe it goes further than that. Maybe it goes to 8 levels. Maybe it goes to 5 levels. Right? If you don't know, why would you take the chance? Why in the world would you take the chance over here? And the answer is, I don't think people will be willing to take the chance if they understood the depth. Even people who've had out-of-body experiences. They see their life flash before their eyes, Jew and non-Jew. And they hear and they understand the depth of what they're going through. Or what they potentially will go through. Right? Because the ones telling the story came back. Right? Their soul came back to their body. But they saw things. Some of them refused to speak about what they saw. People suffering all kinds of things. So even then, right, as I mentioned before, There's a book called The View from Above, but a secular Israeli gets clocked on the head by a steel beam 4 or 5 flights up, clinically dead, basically, came back to their body. Took them 7 years, if I remember correctly. 7 years to come back to Torah mitzvahs. But if they saw things clear, they understood things clear, why did it take them so long? Why should it take them 7 years? Okay, gotta go through rehabilitation. Gotta get your body back to where it was. Hopefully. They say 6 months, maybe it takes a year. Maybe longer. But what happened? Their resolve got weaker. The evil inclination, Mr. S, whatever you want to call him, cooled the person down. Because now the person's coming out of it. And now he's all gung-ho. Wants to keep Torah mitzvahs. People say, nah, don't worry about it. You're okay the way you were. What do you have to come onto religion for? All these antiquated laws don't make a lot of sense. People are crazy. Fanatics. So the resolve gets weakened. So everybody says, in the name of the Arizal, Rav Isaac Luria, the Rav Isaac Luria says, person has some sort of epiphany. Yes, he feels tremendous spirituality. And is gung-ho. Wants to do the mitzvahs right, say the blessings slow, have all this intention, nothing to do with Kabbalah. Wants to raise himself to a high level. And they're all gung-ho, they're fired up. So says the Arizal, if that happens, doesn't happen that often. But if it happens, run with it and take it as far as you can. Because it doesn't last long. Why not? Person got saved from sure death. I don't know, any number of things could happen to fire us up. Comes on the evil inclination. And what does he do? The evil inclination cools it down. Cools down the fire. Cools down the ability to want to live to a higher level, to a higher standard. So essentially that's what we have to do. We have to grow and grow and grow, be excited, be fired up. Doesn't matter what life throws at us. We gotta be fired up. We have to work hard. We have to strive. We have to make it real. And who cares what God throws at us? What the evil inclination tries to do? But we have to take it and run with it. Right? It's like running the last leg of a race. Right? The last 200 meters. Right? You're the last person. You get the baton. You just run. Right? As fast as you can go. Because you want to win. So that baton, okay, is a little bit of a jump. That baton that a person takes, we're going to call that spirituality. So now for those 200 meters, and we'll call it, our days, our months, our years, we have to take that baton and run. And run. Like there is no tomorrow. Constantly looking over our shoulder, see if anyone's behind us. Because obviously you want to, you're the last leg over here. You want to win the race. You absolutely want to win the race. So you give it everything you have. But see, we have bad habits. Person's running. And now they feel someone getting closer. And they're like this. They're looking to the side. They're looking to the side. Right, but they're losing their focus. You're right, somebody next to you who has the ability maybe to pass you, give you that inner desire to just keep going. Because now they're getting much closer. And if they pass you, you lose. So, we can't look back. We can't look to the side. Because what these things do is it distracts the person. It distracts the person, they won't win the race. Because they're losing strides over here. The whole point is when a person's running in stride. When you're running in stride, you're consistent. You're keeping the same pace, maybe going a little bit faster. But when you look to the side, look behind you a little bit, you're not going as fast as you can. You're slowing down. So in the ultimate race, i.e. the race for our lives, our spiritual lives, there is no looking to the side. There is no looking behind us. There's only looking forward. Right? There's only looking to what I'm doing now, what I want to do, where I want to go, what level I want to be at. Because when we slow down, we lose the race. So here we're letting the evil inclination in a drop. Maybe a little more drop. Can't do that. Because if you let the evil inclination in, he will take over. He will be now, whatever this thing you've done, it's part of your psyche. We mentioned many times, when it's part of your psyche, you can't fight against it. It's much harder. I shouldn't say can't. It's very hard to fight against it. It's part of our psyche. We're wired a certain way now. If I never did it, it's one thing. Now that I've done it, gotta work very hard. So we're in this world to struggle. Essentially to do God's will. And if we reach that minimal level, we'll have a portion of the world to come. But in this world, it's not made easy. God does not make it easy. The evil inclination does not make it easy. We ourselves don't make it easy on ourselves. Because we're our own worst enemy. We'll do things and we'll say, no, it's really permitted. It's really okay, just like in this case. Both parties agree. It's beneficial for both. But there's only one problem. The problem is, the Torah says I'm not allowed to. The Torah tells me it's forbidden. So therefore, I got to fight against that evil inclination. And even if it makes sense logically. And there are a lot of things, not just by charging with interest. There are many things. We could say, it doesn't really mean that. It's really like this. This doesn't really apply. Or it applies in a different way. What do? We make excuses for things that are forbidden because we want to permit them. Whatever the excuses are. Even if it's to my benefit and this other person's benefit, says the Torah, you got to fear God. Because without fear of God, you'll make up any number of excuses in order to say this is okay. And that we can't do. That we're not allowed to do. People do it. Maybe he's telling me, or he's telling us, don't be misled. Because when you're misled over here, you'll pay a serious price. When it comes to ribbis, to lending with interest to a Jew to a Jew, the punishment is unbelievably severe. Person could say, come on, it's beneficial for everybody. And the answer is you'll pay a serious price. Because the reality is, we don't know how far that judgment goes. And that's with anything. Right? So we have to ask ourselves, when it comes to spiritual things, if we're not sure the depth, which many things we're not, then in the end, we are playing Russian roulette. Now, I don't know too many people willing to play Russian roulette. It's a dangerous game. Because it could cost you your life. So the person's going to say, well, is it worth it? No, it's not. They'll call you chicken. So what? What if you pull that trigger and boom? It's over. Better to be called a chicken than do that. But see, we're willing to play Russian roulette because, as my Rebbe would say, I never met anyone in that world come back. So maybe we think, oh, maybe there is nothing in the next world. Someone once told me, when I die, I'm going 6 feet under. And I said to them, I hope you're right, because if I'm right, you're toast. You're in trouble. So spirituality is not something to play with. And we got to take it very seriously. I want to remind everyone, I give a class, Duties of the Heart, every Tuesday, 9 o'clock New York time. We're in the gate of repentance. I do 2 Q&As every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock in the morning, New York time, 5 o'clock Israel time. I have a class on the book of Leviticus, chapter 14, every Sunday, 9 o'clock New York time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Do controversial issues, Tanakh talk every Monday, 2 o'clock New York time, 9 o'clock Israel time, Pirkei Avos, every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 2 o'clock New York time, 9 o'clock Israel time. I also have conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of this can find me on Facebook, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.